Today on the show, robots in the confessional, apologies church father style. Can we get too much of saintly devotion? Our picks of the week and so much more. The Catholic Underground starts right now. Hello, hello. It is time for the Catholic Underground. We are the podcast that tries to cut through the noise of the digital continent and bring you the topics that matter. It's episode number 404, File Not Found. I am Father Chris Decker. Joining me this week, we've got Tyler Trahan. He is the director of the Franciscan Experience for Fran U in the Diocese of Baton Rouge, and he joins us. Hey, Tyler.
How you doing?
Doing fine, doing fine. Kathleen is on assignment, and so you are now on assignment here.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Very good.
Always.
We're going to go up to the Jeff Star 1 near-Earth orbit satellite to check in on our own Jeff Blackwell. He is the technical director of the CU. You know him. Hey, Jeff.
Thank you, Father. Good to be here. A little casual night here on the.
That's true. You're celebrating kind of a day of rest up there on the satellite. That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Ed Ball is our video director. He is the one who runs the video. So if you're watching us on Roku or on television or somehow have managed to figure out how to squeeze a video signal out of radio, Ed's the one doing all of that. Now we are expected to see Olivia. She got caught in traffic, and so she's on her way. But we'll add her into the mix whenever she gets here. No problem there. So. There was a little chatter going on in a Vox article. Vox Media, of course, is one of these online kind of magazine discussion zones. Once a man's ordained a priest for the Catholic Church, he acts, you ready for the Latin?
Right.
In persona Christi capitis.
Oh, okay. So that last word is a new one for me.
Oh, capitis,
yeah.
Huh? Well, Jeff will remember it because that's where we get the word kaput from.
Oh, now that I've heard of.
Yeah, kaput.
Yeah.
Caput means head. So whenever a priest acts, like whenever he confects a sacrament, all right, whenever he absolves, right, whenever he baptizes, whenever he confects the Eucharist, he acts in the person of Christ the head. You see, so we're all members of the body of Christ, but when the priest acts, he acts in the person of Christ the head. And so there are symbols that go along with that. The priest's hands are anointed with oil at his ordination. He lies prostrate on the ground to symbolize laying down his life. The bishop's hands are laid on his head. And ordination leaves an indelible mark on the priest's soul. So like in baptism and in confirmation and holy orders, your soul is configured in a new and a different way, right? Oh, good. I got a catechism ding there. All right, so during his priesthood, the priest uses his mouth to preach, to speak the words of blessing, and he uses the words of consecration. He elevates the Eucharist. So he's got holy hands, right? Exactly. So here's the issue with what was happening on Vox. What happens if the priest were a robot?
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So
interesting.
So Sister Ilia Delio, who holds the Josephine C. Connolly Endowed Chair of Theology at Villanova University, she said that Catholicism should reimagine the priesthood and consider robots instead of or alongside of men. She's a Franciscan sister. Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, so she said, and I quote. We have these fixed philosophical ideas, and AI challenges those ideas. It challenges Catholicism to move forward toward a post-human priesthood. She also said the Catholic notion would say that the priest is ontologically changed upon ordination, but is that really true? ? For that, let's go to Olivia. Olivia, is that really true? That's okay. You're doing great. Yeah. So
by your tone, I'm gonna guess no.
No, of course not. Yeah. Well done, Olivia. Yeah, Olivia Gulino, by the way, joins us
Hello, so
after.
sorry.
That's okay. Traffic is traffic. It's real. Yeah.
Even on a
good.
Sunday evening.
In fact,
What was that?
on the radio and on television, let's just take a moment to breathe with Olivia. There we
And
are.
drink a sip of coffee while we're at it.
That's right.
Oh my
in
gosh,
case,
you're
yeah.
awesome.
So if you're just joining us, that's the story. Is that Sister Ilia said that robotic priests would have certain advantages, and perhaps the most striking of which, as she said, they're incapable of committing sexual abuse. This is a really interesting, discussion. Numerous Catholic experts told Catholic News Agency that a robot priest would be sacramentally impossible in the Catholic Church because they are not human.
That's a basic principle.
This
is where we are. Okay.
So the reason that we bring this forward is because we live in 2019. Tyler, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I know that I have. I've had to explain some of the kind of the basic tenets of the Catholic Church, and really of Christianity, of the incarnational nature of Christianity, because that hasn't really been fleshed out, pun intended, very much.
Right.
So like some of the basic things that perhaps we take for granted, people go, well, now why couldn't we have a robot as a priest?
Right.
Have you had to do that where you've had to explain to folks, yeah, no, the church believes this because of this reason?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that kind of happens a lot nowadays, right? We kind of tend to think surface level and really don't dig deeper into why we do what we do.
Yeah.
And partially and mostly it's because of Jesus' humanity, right?
Yeah, sure.
His
he
coming down to earth
divinity, right?
Exactly. And so.
And it's scandalous. I mean, like by definition, it's scandalous.
Oh,
and
yes.
then the incarnation is a scandal.
Yeah, the word, that the divine word becomes flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the basis here, where Sister's asking us to kind of challenge, because artificial intelligence is challenging our philosophical ideas, that we also should begin to challenge those fixed philosophical ideas of a non-robot priesthood.
What? I feel honestly like I've walked into the Twilight Zone since I came in halfway through the story, but just thinking about this, let's say we try to take this seriously, right? Like robot priest. Lols. We try to take.
By the way,
seriously.
there's nothing to say that I'm not. By the way, I could be a very good android.
Aren't you?
You see.
But I also feel like this doesn't give God enough credit. When I was doing some research. For a talk I gave a while back on Eucharistic spirituality, I read God is Near Us by Pope Benedict or Joseph Ratzinger, I forget which one. Same guy, just different instantiations.
Different times,
anyway, so but there was at one point he was talking about how basically our freedom is a great risk, but the value for which the risk is undertaken is so great, and it's communion with us, like a real relationship with us.
Yeah.
And so God sees that that's the possibility of giving us that becomes possible, becomes real whenever he gives us freedom. So even though he knows, because he's God, that we're going to fall, we're going to screw up, he still takes the risk because that relationship with us is worth it.
Exactly.
And so
that's the depth of his desire to love. And to receive, that's the kind of the mystery of it, and to receive love too.
Right.
That our God has no need of our love, but he desires to receive it.
Yeah.
Because of the communal reciprocal nature of it. Yeah. And that's really at the core of what a priest is supposed to be, right? And as awesome as Commander Data is on Star Trek, he was unable to give and receive love. Sorry, guys. Sorry, fanboys. Sorry, me. But as much as you can kind of emulate humanity, if you're not human, you can't be human.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's just the way that it goes. Sorry, Pinocchio.
But I'm a real boy.
That's right. Not until Jiminy Cricket visits. So here are some of the kind of the philosophical things, right? How would a robot cooperate by intellect and will interiorly with grace to be conformed to Christ ontologically? That's really kind of the thing. So, do we use a lot of long words there? So a priest has to be conformed to Christ in the very nature of his being. Well, a robot doesn't have a soul. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, sci-fi. Sorry, Ray Bradbury. But a robot doesn't have a soul. And so that's actually what makes a priest, is how the soul is conformed and changed, if you will. And so you're kind of advocating a dualism if you have a robot who is also a priest. You can dress a robot like a priest. I'm sure they've done that in Japan. Sorry, Japan. But you can't do it. Yeah. Just apologizing to everybody here.
It's a great segue for later.
It is. It really is. Yeah. What's interesting is Father John Karcha, the rector of Mundelein Seminary in Illinois, told the Catholic News Agency that his background in physics meant that he found the story about the possibility of robot priests intriguing. He says, according to the article, Buddhist priests might be possible because they are people simply guiding people along a path. There's no ontological change for a Buddhist priest. But for Catholics, their faith necessitates an encounter with God. And as we were just talking about, that's a very infleshed thing, you know. People oftentimes joke with me like, "Oh, Father, can we go to confession to a over the phone?" I'm like, "Well, no, absolutely not." Because you're speaking with me, but you're speaking with me over a medium. You're speaking with me in a kind of a virtually instant manner. And there must be an encounter in order for the sacraments to be confected, right? If you think about it. So you have to hear my voice and experience my presence in order for the sacraments to work. Because Jesus very rarely did he confer anything by long distance. He did it a couple of times. He did heal by long distance, but he was actually making himself present because, well, he's God. He's not bound by the laws of nature, right?
Yeah.
Priest is, where we are. In the same way, the priest has to be present to confect the Eucharist. He can't say, well, I'll just stay here in my bed and I'll say the Mass and everybody, you just gather in the church and I'll be upstairs, I promise. And what happens on the altar is going to be real. No, there's an encounter that's there. The priest also helps to facilitate in the sacramental way, making really present that encounter between the Catholic and the divine, between God and the Christian, Not just the divine as some sort of vague concept, he says, but with the real person of God, the real person of Jesus Christ. Now, it's important to note that this doesn't mean that Catholics fear technology, you know, and I think that's oftentimes the jump that gets made. Is that we fear technology, you know? Well, we do have a lot of technology happening in the studio right now. That's true. Good eye there, Tyler.
Nope.
Yeah, no, we're not scared. But that's oftentimes the jump that gets made is that, well, Catholics, if you don't want a robot to take over what we perceive to be a priest shortage, then you must be anti-technology, that old Galileo chestnut. Well, no, absolutely not. The fact that we are here and we are podcasting, we're working with video and audio, shows that there are important advancements that technology makes, and that we should be part of that. Even AI can be helpful, actually, in some way, within the context of faith. In fact, Father Karcha says that. I mean, in some degree, we all make use of simple artificial intelligence without thinking about it in the same way. Our phones are based on algorithms, which make decisions without our directly being involved in them. Most priests have breviaries on their phones, thank goodness, which program ahead and let us pull up the daily Mass readings and things like that. And Sister Mary, I mean, lest we kind of chuckle, she said that technology can be a helpful tool in learning the faith, right? This is in the realm of speculative theology, and it's important to note that part of being able to do philosophy and theology is to be able to speculate a little bit and to kind of throw things at the proverbial refrigerator and see if they stick. But yeah, this is one of those that it doesn't. But Sister does say, let's see if I can find the article here. She says that, I'm losing my spot. She says that the San-TO robots developed by a Japanese roboticist that resemble saint figurines, and they can recite certain prayers if prompted. She said, well, that can be a help to kind of accessing a sacramental, a little robot saint that could speak a prayer. That's something, They can help children memorize prayers, but Sister admits the prayer has no significance outside of its material reality unless it's said by a human being who offers it to God interiorly. Right. So you see how
the idea of this, like the person having a soul, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the offer of that prayer.
Yeah, a little plastic saint does not have a soul,
They have little lambs you can buy at Catholic Art and Gifts that will say the Our Father.
Oh, really?
I feel like that's a very nascent form of this, but it's a tool that can be used to help on the way to some kind of authentic spirituality, but it cannot be a replacement.
Yeah, exactly, and that perhaps is, I guess, going to be my Christmas gift now from Olivia or Kathleen. I can just see it happen. Yeah, too. So,
well, even for the Franciscan experience, in the context of using technology, during the week, we actually allow them to use their cell phones when we pray night prayer and morning prayer.
It's there on
the
the iBreviary.
just to show them that the use of technology can actually be beneficial in
right.
accessing prayers and things like that. And so
to introduce technology at an appropriate level is a good
exactly.
thing. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Kevin Miller, an associate professor of theology at Franciscan University of Steubenville, told Catholic News Agency that in order to understand the priesthood, Catholics have to look to Jesus Christ, and Jesus is decidedly not a robot.
Who would have thought?
I know, right?
Yeah, think.
Yeah, the sacraments are instituted by Christ, and they configure us to Christ in various ways, right? And Christ, God the Son, took on a human nature for us men and for our salvation, we say, right? For we as human beings. We quote that in the Nicene Creed when we pray it every Sunday. The sacraments, he says, are part of the same saving plan. They're for humans, and in the sense that they can neither be received nor administered by robots or AI devices or the like, or any other non-human created beings, right? Sacraments are for humans, and they are for the living. And robots are neither able to receive sacraments, nor are they living. And that's all we have to say about that. Let us know what you think. Backchat@CatholicUnderground.com. We haven't done that in a while, but if you want to kind of chime in, then we can come back to the discussion. Backchat@CatholicUnderground.com. Email us, let us know, or go to CatholicUnderground.com, and you can leave us a little info there in the email form. So I suppose it goes without saying, perhaps robotically do I say, we are the Catholic Underground. Alrighty. Whew. Well, you somehow have found Catholic Underground. We are online at CatholicUnderground.tv. I am Father Chris, joined by Tyler Traha, by Olivia Gulino, by Jeff Blackwell and Ed Ball. Our picks of the week are coming up. But first, well, you heard me apologizing in the first segment.
We did.
Profusely.
We did a lot, in a lot of different contexts too, which, like I mentioned, was a perfect segue into this next segment. And recognizing that we are human, as we talked about, we have souls and everything. We are. But with our own humanity, not being in Jesus' humanity, we do make mistakes, especially whenever we interact with other people.
His was perfect humanity, and ours is most decidedly imperfect.
Absolutely. And so most likely you're going to make mistakes followed by some sort of apology that you have to make to another person.
Yeah.
Now, at least one would hope. I would hope there's some sort of apology. Now, if we do encounter a situation where apology does exist, how do we know if it's coming from an act of obligation or out of an act of sincerity? And so Father Michael Renier, I'm going to try to pronounce that correctly, wrote for a website called Aletheia. Again, hopefully I'm saying
you got
that
it. Actually,
correctly.
Aletheia is correct.
I did say correct.
Yeah.
All right, very good. It's a Catholic website, and it's spelled Aletheia. It's a Catholic website that provides content for pretty much about everything.
In fact, I dare say we could almost be called the Aletheia podcast because we get a lot of our talking points from them. Yeah.
And so he writes, Father Michael, on this specific question, but he brings his inspiration from one of our saints. His name is Saint John Chrysostom.
He's a heavy hitter.
He's a heavy hitter. And actually the word Chrysostom is Greek for golden tongue or golden mouth, depending on the translation.
He shows up an awful lot in the office of readings because he was so golden-tongued.
He was so well known. He's a well-known speaker. He was known for his eloquent speech. And so he actually wrote on 5 ways or 5 elements of a good apology. And so we're going to go through those right quick. And this is actually an affirmation for me that I'm on the right track, because as I was reflecting on
You've been doing some of that?
I was like, hey, I've been doing that. Okay, apparently I've been doing very well. All right, so number 1 is own the mistake. Sometimes we get into that, and they kind of mentioned throughout the article, like, this is the toughest one, but they're like, oh no, wait, this is the toughest one. And I'm like, look, each one of them are hard. Each one of them are hard.
To own it and say, no, mea culpa, like, I did this. This is my fault.
Absolutely. And sometimes we have this tendency to apologize, but not necessarily owning it. You're still putting it on the other person. So they actually mentioned in the article, I'm sorry that I made you feel this way, as in, like, you're the one that's at fault for feeling this way. Not necessarily saying that I did this.
Totally me.
I'm really sorry. So it takes a lot of serious self-evaluation. A lot of this I compare to the sacrament of confession that I'll get to a little bit later, but it takes serious reflection on what is it that I'm at fault for and how am I going to apologize for that to the other person. So it's acknowledging that the part that you played in the situation, but don't complicate the apology by going into the details. Just acknowledge it, own it, and there you go.
Yeah, I like how John Chrysostom says, render judgment unto yourself.
Exactly. That's how he puts it, is render judgment on yourself.
If you think about it, that's like the first bit of going into the confessional is rendering judgment unto yourself and then submitting yourself for God's judgment.
Or you can call it an act of contrition. I know, I'm sorry, an examanition of conscience.
That's right.
That's what you're doing right
that's
now.
right. The examination of conscience is rendering judgment unto myself.
Right, exactly. All right, so the second one is drop ongoing ill feelings, or what St. John says, keep from bearing a grudge. Sometimes, especially nowadays, I find that we have the most difficulty with holding on to things and not just letting them go. And so we have to let go of any ill will for us to grow in compassion and be understanding of the other person's point of view.
Yep.
And so this will ultimately prevent another situation like this from happening. Otherwise, if you've apologized, but then you turn your back and continue to complain about how this person thought this and how he or she was this and that and wrong, the apology is invalid because you haven't let it go. You haven't completely forgiven them and forgiven yourself of the particular situation, which brings me to my third point, is in asking forgiveness.
Can I go back just a bit?
Sure,
because
absolutely,
I
please.
know that in my side of the confessional, it's the holding, the bearing of a grudge that's the thing that really keeps us from moving to the forgiveness bit. And so oftentimes people will term it, Father, I'm having trouble forgiving. And it's oftentimes because of the second thing of not being able to drop the ongoing ill feelings, because we feel like we have a little bit of power if we hang on to them, you know? And yet we can't ever get to forgiveness of saying, I no longer recognize this as sin, right? I'm forgiving this sin. I'm wiping it away.
Yeah, and then in my own experience, it's a physical act, because whenever you're in disagreement with somebody and then you're having to interact with them, say it's a colleague at work or something like that, I mean, you physically have to get yourself to go say hi to that person. That way you're not, like,
you're right.
you know, you have this like deep feeling in the pit of your stomach, like I don't really want to say hi to this person because this just happened. It's like, no, like it takes a physical act for you to go out of yourself and say, hi, how are you? How's your day going?
It shows again the incarnational nature, right? Our human nature has to encounter other human nature in order for these bonds of relationship to be healed.
Absolutely.
So asking forgiveness.
Asking forgiveness. And so, but St. John says this, from the bottom of your heart, which I think is crucial and I think is pretty wise. To say from the bottom of your heart, ask forgiveness. But what's also important is to allow forgiveness of yourself. So it's reciprocal. You have to do it both ways. And so it allows the other person to participate in the process, which is a very interesting notion. I never thought about it this way. On whenever you ask forgiveness from the other, it's them participating in the process, which makes them feel more a part of the reconciliation.
Whole point of reconciliation.
Exactly. And so I kind of respected that. I kind of appreciated that. And so for me, asking forgiveness, but then accepting that forgiveness is another easy way of moving forward. So not only forgetting, like letting go of the ill will, but also that forgiveness allows us to more easily move forward. Yeah. And so the next step after that, which would be number 4, is making restitution. And I think this is probably the most important in my opinion, because it's one thing to ask forgiveness, but what are you going to do after that?
Yeah.
So
this is actually built into reconciliation, right? That's
right. And that was a part of my reflection, thinking about this, like, wow, this is like reconciliation. Like this is all reconciliation. It's just with
that's
another
what
person.
John Chrysostom was going for.
Exactly. And so
that golden tongue.
Right. And so making restitution. So St. John comments on this by saying that making restitution has a great power more than you can tell. And another way that you can say this for me is, if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And so taking steps to change the behavior that caused the disagreement. Now, I love psychology, so talking about behavior is something I get really excited about. And so whenever you're making restitutions, what behavior are you going to change to make sure that whatever you are apologizing for or whatever you're receiving forgiveness for, how are you going to change that? Because if it doesn't change, then
yeah,
it happens again, and it's just
isn't that something too? Is that our penance essentially is me saying my life is going to be different, and this is the kind of the first down payment on the new life that I've received.
Right.
And I don't know that I've ever thought about that in depth with another person, right? Saying, okay, well, how am I going to kind of do a penance for this situation that I caused?
Well, and then it also gives a sense of gratification for the other.
Yeah.
And a healthy gratification, as in, like, I value you, and so I'm going to take the steps to be able to rectify the situation and know that I value you in our relationship. And so taking those steps to make sure that you're correcting whatever the situation, whatever you're apologizing for, is very important.
Yep.
And then the last one, number 5, which St. John actually mentions is the hardest one that he feels is a part of this process, is maintaining humility. Now, humility can be defined in many different ways. A lot of people know it as, being humble, thinking less of yourself compared to other people. But actually, for me, it's recognizing the equality of the other person, and that I am no better than you and you are no better than me, but we need each other. And so whenever we forgive each other, it's recognizing that not only do I value you in my life, but also you have something to contribute to the world, and we need to help each other in doing that.
Yeah.
And so practicing humility allows us to better accept, but also receive apologies more readily. Again, because we recognize that we are all equal, we're no better than the other. And so it's easier for us to receive apologies, but also forgiveness as well.
It's kind of like, all this talk about energy, humility is kind of a renewable resource.
Yeah.
The more we humble ourselves,
Right.
the more we have a capacity to give and receive contrition and reconciliation.
Right. Absolutely. And so those are the 5 ways that St. John talks about how to make a sincere apology, or how to recognize a sincere apology is made. And so I love this because it challenges us to think through more readily how we encounter each other in our day-to-day life and in our routines.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about doing for the sake of doing, it's doing for the sake of reflecting, for the sake of growing, especially in our encounters with each other, because whenever we encounter each other, we encounter Jesus. And so sometimes we'll go apologize to someone just because we feel like we have to, but nothing is rectified. But like I said, this reminded me so much of the sacrament of confession. So the next time you see yourself in this sticky situation, pray for grace, recognize our humanity, and that Christ meant for us to be in a relationship with each other.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Welcome back. No, that's German. That's not Hawaiian. Sorry.
Oh.
Aloha. You found the Catholic Underground.
I'm cultured. I'm sorry.
With me, Father Chris Decker. You've got Tyler Trahan, who is surprisingly cultured, actually. Olivia Gulino, eminently cultured. Jeff Blackwell, who is a culture.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. And Ed, who appreciates everyone.
Yeah. Pass the boy, Ed.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Doing that Hawaiian thing.
Yeah,
never mind.
There will be no hula on the Jeff Star one. Our picks of the week are coming up. But first, there is a notion that sometimes we can get a little carried away when it comes to devotion, most especially to the Blessed Mother, to Mary. And I mean, sometimes if you're kind of sight unseen, looking at Marian devotions, especially in places like Mexico and Spain and really all of Europe, we go, what is going on there? And what I find interesting is the world begins to ask the question, well, what are the Catholics doing?
Right.
And is there too much, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's something too, I think we often think about it in dichotomy with like Protestants and Catholics, right? So like Protestants think that our any acknowledgement of Mary beyond, her presence in Scripture, and the fact that she's the mother of Jesus is just too much, right? But then you get to the Catholic side, and sometimes we can dig our heels in and be like, Mary's everything. And even from a Catholic perspective, it might seem a little bit weird. I remember thinking that in high school when I was just trying to understand basic things about the faith. But I remember thinking okay, I get it, because she definitely is the mother of Jesus, but
how does this fit?
Yeah, and especially when you look at different devotions and things, and sometimes it seems like we're getting lost in the person of Mary, and we're like, well, but Jesus though,
Right. Yeah.
And so Joe Heschmeyer over at Word on Fire talked about this question. I actually really loved that he took this perspective on it, because I think it's helpful for people reading just to say oh, okay, good, someone else has had that thought.
Yeah.
Especially,
and it's a challenging discussion too, because a lot of Catholics don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
We experience perhaps a discomfort, but we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's good to just put a name to it, look it in the face, and say okay, there's just some parts of what we do that are weird, but why are they weird? And so he gives the example of the Salve Regina, which is the Hail Holy Queen. And so at the end we call Mary or in the middle we call her Mary our life, our sweetness, and our hope, right? Which I don't know if you've ever prayed that and kind of thought to yourself our life, right? To say that the Blessed Virgin is our life, maybe we start to think but our life and our hope are Jesus though, for sure though. And maybe we start to question what we believe, or not just what we believe, but how we understand our beliefs. Am I getting something wrong? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
But he says that part of the answer is both cultural and rhetorical. And I think that he's really onto something here. So he points to the fact that a lot of the things that maybe we consider schmaltzy is what he says, or just exaggerating seeming kind of statements about Mary.
Superlative language.
Right, those kinds of things that we say about Mary. A lot of those, first of all, tend to come from romantic languages, the Romance languages. So cultures that use those languages. So we're talking Italian, French, Spanish, right? These are very effusive kinds of language.
That's right.
And language, this is something separate.
Moxissimo, right?
Yeah.
They have the ability to make a super superlative just by adding issimo.
Yeah, and they ain't scared to do it.
That's true. Yeah.
But
Jeffissimo.
Jeffissimo.
Yeah.
Aw. Molto bene. But language has been proven to be part and parcel with how you think, right?
Yeah.
Your primary language also is both determined by and determines the way that you think. So that's why the languages that you speak are very important into just the kind of functions that your brain has.
It's also why Klingon is not my second language. Keep going.
What am I supposed to do with that? Okay.
Thank you.
You look at me and you're like you're tossing me something useful. Okay.
No, I'm not.
All right. Okay. Anyway.
I'm just going to put my coffee cup
Yeah.
down.
It's better that way.
Tyler, just take over. No, so think about the languages I just talked about, Italian, French, Spanish, not Klingon, right? Those are you can think about Italian people, of which I am one, right? French people, of which Tyler is kind of one, right? Cajun's different.
Trahan. Sure.
But it's different than French.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
I'm just trying to...
It's different from Parisian French. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
That's true.
But you can think about those people and just would you say that the Cajun people are pretty effusive, right? Just
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In their own way.
That's right. They love deeply and they feel everything deeply.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually witnessed a Cajun discussion and an Italian discussion at the dinner table once. And
I remember that.
And Olivia was the Italian on the other end. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
I won that discussion too.
As all Italians must.
And the Cajun on the other end probably would think the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
So
to each their own. Anyway,
changes
So
how
the
you
lesson
think.
other.
yeah. So let's just go back to maybe a source that can help us with something like this, and someone like John Henry Newman, Blessed John Henry Newman, soon to be Saint John Henry Newman. So
yes,
excited
that's
for that. Joe Heschmeyer points out as maybe a helpful perspective, especially when you consider the fact that Newman was English and so notoriously very stuffy, but also he just, as his personality was just more kind of proper.
Yeah.
But he has a beautiful way of looking at this. So I'm just going to read part of it to you. So he says that of all passions, love is the most unmanageable. Love that word. Name more. I would not give much for that love which is never extravagant, which always observes the proprieties and can move about in perfect good taste under all emergencies. What mother, what husband or wife, what youth or maiden in love, but says 1,000 foolish things in the way of endearment, which the speaker would be sorry for strangers to hear. Yet they are not on that account unwelcome to the parties to whom they are addressed. Sometimes by bad luck, they're written down. Sometimes they get into the newspapers. And what might even be graceful when it was fresh from the heart and interpreted by the voice or the countenance presents but a melancholy exhibition when served up cold for the public eye.
So love can be really sloppy sometimes.
Yeah.
And just straight, kind of straight from the heart, huh? Our cardial fluid, right? Just blah, there, yeah. Uh-huh.
The word fluid. Right, but I'm just skipping over that. So he says that it's the same thing with devotional feelings, right? Like you have that kind of surge of the heart that gets you to say things that maybe you wouldn't say to, just anyone, but also maybe that you wouldn't say outside of a certain context, right? But you're saying it to someone because of some reason, right? And that reason is love.
Yeah, because you're either infatuated or you are deeply in love, and you're trying to give word to something that your heart can't give words to.
Exactly. And he says that with devotional feelings, it's not different, right? Because we have these burning thoughts and words, and they're as open to criticism as they are beyond criticism, right? And so, but you have that same kind of experience of like, well, I say these things, but then, maybe they're written down or they're preserved in some way, and maybe they just seem sterile later, or they seem like overly effusive because I'm reading it outside of that context in which it was originally said, or someone else is reading it outside of that original context. And so he even talks about, I don't know if y'all remember the Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, of course.
Oh gosh, so good. The one about Jenny, so good. But they have a, not for all eyes, a slightly racy song. It's called the Most Beautiful Girl in the Room, in which the singer, well, that's a loose word for what they do, but the singer compliments a girl by saying things like, I can tell that you're the most beautiful girl in the room, and when you're on the street, depending on the street, I bet you're definitely in the top 3 good-looking girls on the street, right?
Wow.
So, but they're in a very kind of like, joking way.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
saying, well, they're making terrible compliments, but what they're doing is they're pointing out those things that people say when they're in love, right? When they're trying to express something that is deep-seated.
And it isn't always polished, as Newman would say.
Exactly. And so this can, be applied to how we think about Mary, because criticizing Catholics, other Catholics, for exuberantly praising our mother, right? That's who Mary is. She's not only the mother of Jesus, but she is our mother. Jesus makes that very clear on the cross, right? But so to criticize praising our mother is kind of like criticizing a child for buying a #1 dad mug for his father, right? Or saying things like, well, can you prove it? Right? Like, where are your statistics? Right?
Bring us the dad competition report.
Exactly. Yeah. Of all the dads in the world, what makes you think that yours is the best, right? No, we don't do that. We just accept the love that the child is giving the present with, and the acknowledgement that they understand that no, their dad is the best dad in the world.
Plus, they don't make a number 32,444th dad.
Someone has tried, though. Someone has tried.
Oh, I could make
someone very literal like you.
I could make $32.
You have a very specific kind of Etsy shop.
I do. I should. I ought.
Father Chris has just the most just strip away love, strip away sentiment. He's just got the most hard nonsense kind of
hard nonsense.
Hard nonsense.
I think, I can identify
Christmas
with that.
gifts. All right. So some of you might object. Some of you think that maybe we'd be careful not to exaggerate, especially when we're talking about things of the faith. Maybe we shouldn't use over-the-top, flowery language. But really, no. This is something that definitely has a place. And there's 2 reasons for this. First of all, if we were to say, no flowery language, no over-the-top language, we're really limiting the fullness of human emotional expression, right? And exaggeration for effect is a great way to emphasize a point, right? Yeah. And it's really kind of arbitrary to demand that it not be used, just because it's, like we were saying earlier, it's a more robotic way of speaking, right? I can speak in just straight facts, but that also limits what my humanity is capable of, right? And especially if I'm trying to communicate something that's enormous and I don't have the words for that, well, then I'm going to find an exaggeration. I'm going to find a hyperbole, something that is beyond the scope of maybe even reality itself, just so that I can communicate what I'm trying to communicate, right? But
even Jesus did that.
Oh, especially Jesus did that. We'll talk about that in a second. But also, to limit the flowery language would rejecting exaggeration would thwart our ability to understand what? Like we were saying, the scriptures, right? Because the scriptures very much employ exaggeration. A lot of the Bible is metaphoric. Maybe you've learned that in your CCD classes or in your religious education. But we also have to realize that parts of the Bible are also exaggerated, right? And exaggeration is a part of Jewish culture, just like it's a part of, like Sicilian culture, Cajun culture.
Whatever Father Chris is.
Yeah. We accept you the way you are.
What's in that coffee, Father Chris?
I am human. I'm just saying.
That's right. He's his own species.
I'm not an alien.
Like an angel.
Like an angel.
But yeah, so exaggeration is very much a part of cultures, but specifically the Jewish culture, and also the Mediterranean cultures. So all of the people that Jesus is both coming from and like speaking to, right? They understand exaggeration as just a normal way of speaking. So think about like 1 Samuel 18 when David kills Goliath. They're coming home. David's, he's slayed the Philistine. The women come out of all the cities of Israel singing and dancing to meet King Saul with timbrels and songs of joy, right? And the women sang to one another as they made merry. Saul has slain his thousands, David his 10,000s. Mm-hmm. David killed one guy, right? So you read that and you're like, did they like rip some pages out of this Bible where like after he killed Goliath, he like killed the entire army? Like, no, like he killed one guy, but the women aren't crediting him with killing tens of thousands, right?
And that exaggeration makes Saul mad.
Oh, yes. Well, and because he's mad because number one, it's not literally true. And it's not that he's just like, a staunch empiricist, right? But also because they only credit him with killing thousands, right? So they're still exaggerating for his benefit, but like
not as much.
Yeah, this kid, this
Saul's
ruddy-haired
great, but
kid.
David's better.
Yeah, exactly. So you can also remember this kind of exaggeration when you think about like the incredible body counts at certain parts of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Old Testament is talking about battles and war and things like that. But they also just like, they really describe like the body count to you. And sometimes it can just seem like unfathomable to us. Well,
Matter of perception.
Because they're probably employing some kind of exaggeration, some kind of hyperbole, right? Because that's the way that they communicate, right?
Yeah.
We
Either
communicate.
that or the priests of Baal did not experience a shortage until after they were all slain. Ha-cha.
Oh my gosh, you were waiting. You've been waiting like 4 years to tell that joke.
Try 14, but yeah, it's true.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Sorry,
now
Jeff.
think about Jesus. Just everyone think about Jesus. All right. He uses a similar kind of like rhetorical exaggeration in Matthew 18, right? A passage that would, on its face, seem to advocate for some kind of mutilation, right? And you'll note as soon as I start reading it, right? If your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it from you. It's better for you to enter life maimed or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown in the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out, throw it from you. Right? Okay. Are we really supposed to pluck our eyes out and chop our hands and our feet off?
Nope.
Tyler?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Right? No, like we're not supposed to do that. And we don't find, the followers of Christ mutilating themselves and just saying like, well, he said to
It's
do
in
it.
there.
Who's got a machete? Leroy? No, like they're not going around taking him literally because they know that he's using a kind of rhetorical device.
Yeah. Walking through the eye of the needle to get to heaven.
Oh, that's true. That's
very true.
+5 for Tyler. Yeah, nicely done.
I can do this too.
There it is.
Thank you.
And we hear something similar from Paul, right? Galatians 5, that, those preaching mandatory circumcision would just castrate themselves, right? He's not saying this is what you should literally go do, right? But he's exaggerating for effect, right? And it makes the point. Can we agree that it makes the point? So even though it's uncomfortable to even, acknowledge that parts of the Bible are exaggerated because it's just so deeply ingrained in us that things are either literally true or they're false, right? And that's a lot of the trouble that people have when they read the Bible just on its own, right? Like maybe they're not reading it for some of these examples like we said, but they're just reading the Bible and they struggle with things like, well, that doesn't seem like it can be true, so it's just false. And then is the whole thing false, right? We struggle with those kind of deep categories. And, Father Chris, Joe in this article mentions a movie that I haven't seen yet, but I know that you've seen, Guardians of the Galaxy.
I have,
right?
yeah.
So
Drax is this alien that only speaks in literal words, right?
Yes, so cannot take sarcasm.
Exactly. So metaphors don't happen, Say, man, these metaphors are just going over your head. And Drax would say, nothing goes over my head.
Yes.
My reflexes are too fast. I will catch it. And that's part of the humor of it all.
Sounds like Dwight from The Office.
Yeah, there you go. He is kind of like the alien Dwight. Yes. Yeah. So because of that, it's either literal or it's lies. And so Drax doesn't understand a lot of what's going on around him. And that's kind of how, whenever you're watching a religious debate, it can look like that.
Yeah.
You know, or if you're even looking at how Catholics pray, it can look that way, I suppose, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, this is definitely true in a lot of the way that we debate religious things when things like this come up in the Bible, but also like in the way that we pray, like Father Chris was saying. And so all this whole kind of like conversation with Christianity, maybe like we can have that kind of Drax Christianity where like things are either literally true or they're literally false. But then we also can sleep into like a Drax kind of atheism, or maybe we just acknowledge it, that's something that exists. So like, for example, when Ross Douthat explained to Bill Mayer, who is an atheist, that the Bible was never intended to be understood as a science textbook, that even the earliest Christians recognized this, Mayer responds kind of bizarrely, right? He says, so you're giving yourself license to say that some of the Bible is BS. But the Bible does say, it's funny, it says this is 100% true. No, it doesn't. And the Bible says you have to take it like that. Now, if it's not 100% true, I would say the whole thing falls apart, right? So this is that kind of very limited, very literalist interpretation. We subscribe to a literal view of the Bible, which means that we take the words plus their meaning, right? But a literalist says, no, it says what it says and it means what it means because of what it says, right? So if the Bible were to say, you know, it's raining cats and dogs, well then
you'd go outside and look for pet droppings.
There are felines and canines descending from the heavens, right? But we see again those two categories, right? Either completely true or completely false, and there's really no room for understanding or interpretation in there. And so he seems to cite some kind of imaginary Bible verses about how the Bible is 100% true, which how would the Bible reference itself when it wasn't written all together?
Yeah, I think maybe he hasn't read it. I don't want to place any judgments, but
yeah.
Okay.
But the conclusion that he comes to is that it can't have any non-literal language, and that's a modern way of reading, right?
Yeah.
We do this with everything, which is why a lot of people have trouble with the Bible, is because we want to read it non-literally. We want to read it literally, and we have trouble with non-literal language because we just don't think like that anymore. That's not the way. That's not the way English is set up. It's certainly not the way our society is set up. We're set up for hard truths, hard and fast truths, and even if things are like maybes, we have trouble, subscribing to them.
Yeah,
right.
And fitting them into a category.
Yeah, if it can't be fit into a category,
just give me what it is, and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't put any deeper thought into it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even when you just think about like the way that normal people talk, like if you have to rely on like our idioms and things to understand that, no, there is room for those kind of non-literal ways of understanding things, or ways of taking in information or giving information, right? All of that can help us to kind of settle and sit with the fact that like exaggeration is a good, right? Because it's a natural human means of communication. It can be dangerous when it's not recognized, as exaggeration, right? Like if we were, the example given here is like when we treat a love letter like a police report, like, there'd be dragons there. Don't do that, right? But also like if you treat a police report like a love letter, right? You have to be able to give what's due in the context that you have in front of you.
That's right. So we can say of Mary, our life, our sweetness and hope, or realizing that we are in love with her because it is through her that we have access to our life, our true sweetness and our hope, which is Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's good to be effusive, especially because it comes from a place of love, right? To look upon Mary and want to weave those crowns of roses for her by our prayers, by the giving of sweet things. Who doesn't like to say sweet things to their mom, right?
Which, Jeff, is why we call it a rosary. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. All right.
Yes.
Phew. All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to share in that bell since
Yeah, you should. You set it up. I just knocked it down.
Yeah, that was a beautiful. I
Alley-oop.
never heard that the weave a crown of roses.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. I'm gonna take that with.
So
me.
if you look at the image of the
good.
Immaculate Heart, what is it woven with? But
right.
roses,
That,
yeah.
I
There you
had
go.
that image in my head.
all right. Way to go,
Sweet.
Catholic imagery. You've been doing it right for almost a millennium or so. I don't know how long that image of the Immaculate Heart has been around.
Oh, I don't know.
There's something for my
wonder
Googling
how long
skills.
the-
I would think it would
Chase
be
Heart of Joseph
after
has been.
Sister Faustina created the.
I suspect it's before that because
Yeah.
Really?
you can find Our Lady's heart with roses in some of the basilicae that are,
Old,
much older than 1924.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I do like that. I'm gonna have to look that up
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going
That'd
to
be-
find it.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is to pray with all you got, huh? And I would always echo Maximilian Kolbe says you don't have to worry about loving the Blessed Mother too much, huh? Jesus loved her with everything he had, and you can never love her more than Jesus did.
Yeah.
And so there you go. All right. Well, that said, one of the things that you remember, Tyler, that we do on the show.
I have a bad memory.
Oh, dear. Well, it's that part of the show that we like to call
the CU Pick of the Week.
All right, and for our CU Picks of the Week, why don't we go to Tyler first, because he is the guest.
Yes.
So.
Hospitality.
Hospitality rocks here.
There you go.
So I'm actually going to send a quick shout out to my friend Grace Krause because she is the creator of my pick of the week. And so something that I struggle with, and I don't know if you do, is that whenever I start reading a book, I have a lot of trouble finishing it. Very, very much. I can't remember the last time I finished a book, actually. So Grace actually created a new podcast called Return By, a podcast for literary procrastinators.
What?
And what this
clever.
podcast, I know, right? And what this podcast is for is for people who struggle just like I do. And what they do is they give a book and they say on this date is whenever you have to read it by. So there's no returns. There's no like check out for more time. It's by this date. But what they do is they have a panel of people kind of similar to here where they talk about the book and then you can participate, of course, in the conversation. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and just subscribe from there and then you can get more information. So I've heard really good things about it. And Grace and the panel that she gives, very entertaining, very engaging, and they have really, really good conversations. So they just did Man Alive by G.K. Chesterton.
Nice.
So you can go in and play that and join in the fun.
If you ever need a new name for your podcast, I suggest Book Club or else. Olivia, your pick of the week.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Sinister.
I don't know.
Yeah, you just have to let it slide off your back, Tyler. Okay, so my pick of the week is actually having to do a little bit with what we talked about with like understanding scripture better. So there's a site that I've used since college called Bible Hub, and if you've never heard of it, it's not like Bible Gateway because it's more of like a study tool. So I used it when I took Hebrew in college and then in graduate school. But you can pull up different translations of the Bible. You can pull up different commentaries, not as many as if you have like the Verbum software, but some. But it also can give you like a lexicon. A lexicon is just helping you break down the scriptures word by word. So maybe there's a word in scripture in your English translation that you're like, that seems weird, or I don't understand why that would be there. You can go and look it up on Bible Hub, and it'll tell you, what it is in Hebrew or in Greek, depending on Old or New Testament, and then it'll maybe give you some references as to where it shows up in other books of the Bible. It's great. I use Bible Hub almost every day,
it's got the interline.
It's fantastic.
How come I've never seen this before? I mean, I've seen Bible Hub, but I guess I haven't dug too deep.
Plumbed the depths.
Indeed.
I don't know.
Well,
but now you know.
Very cool. Yeah. Up on the satellite there, Jeff, what's your pick of the week?
Oh, we got all geeky and excited this week because iPhone released its iOS 13.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. By the way, whatever happened to iPhone 9?
Shh, don't say, Jeff, be quiet.
All right,
don't.
sorry.
No.
Okay. But this is really worth taking a look at. There's like 200 updates, and I have the link listed in our show notes here. Wallpapers, beefy video.
The photo editing stuff is really nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One that I really like is Share ETA because like when I'm going to Mom's for Thanksgiving, she said, "Son, when are you going to be here?" Well, let me share my ETA with you, Mom, and she could track me on her phone and know where I am at all times, and see when I'm going to arrive approximately. CarPlay, there's some customized fonts that you're really excited about. I know.
I'm always excited about fonts as long as they're not those two.
Another one I like is Silence Unknown Callers. How many times? But just check out the list. It's a pretty extensive list. And of course, iPhone 11 Pro is.
With its multi-camera action.
It's out. So, and it's at a much lower price point. But I understand there's going to be another update toward the end of the month, September 30th.
Yeah, 13.1.
There you go.
And that's to fix some of the glitches that folks are finding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
I actually, so far, I figured, what the hey, and downloaded iOS 13, and I'm pretty happy with it. I haven't found all the glitches. There are a couple. But I kind of like the fact that you have Memoji stickers. So like you don't just have the animated emoji, but you can send a sticker of yourself too, which is kind of neat.
How do they do that?
I'll just sit here with my Android phone.
Yes,
I'll happily sit here with my Android.
Yeah, we are a bit of a divided house, as they say, but it's okay.
I'm hoping
right.
to come
Only
to the light
Kathleen's
very
not here.
soon. So
Yeah,
Tyler, be strong.
yeah. it's like
intrigue.
He kind of rolled in for a hit, like he was going to get a punch or something.
I'm a nice person.
Darn it!
Just trying to encourage you to virtue.
Yeah, my pick of the week is the third. So it's the end of the Mighty Jack trilogy, where he meets up with Zeta the Space Girl. Ben Hatke is a Catholic from Front Royal, Virginia. And he is also a writer and an illustrator. And so he's been writing for, almost a decade now. Zeta the Space Girl, which I think is named after his daughter, Zeta. And Mighty Jack, which is kind of a retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk. And I guess because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a thing, he's bringing all of his different characters together in one Rock'em Sock'em team up to fight for the universe or whatever. So I haven't finished reading it yet, but this is the fascinating trilogy into the trilogy of Mighty Jack, Zeta the Space Girl, and let's see, the second book was Mighty Jack and the Goblin King, where he meets up with Zeta the Space Girl. So,
I have so many questions.
Oh man, good graphic novels, especially about good
questions.
being good and evil being evil and good vanquishing evil. Ben's really good at that, and he also draws very well. So yeah, Mighty Jack and Zeta the Space Girl is my pick of the week.
When are we going to be able to pick your graphic novel as the pick of the week?
When I finish writing it and drawing it, yeah. I haven't finished writing it yet. I had hoped to do that during my sabbatical, but I didn't get very far. Plus Inktober happened, which Inktober is happening again.
Oh,
that's true.
Yeah,
this is the time to work on it.
Yeah, October 1st. I guess I could do a little work. Yeah, October 1st begins Inktober. If you want information about that, you can go to inktober.com if you're an artist or like to draw. The idea is basically making one inked drawing every day throughout the month of October.
Who has the time for that?
Well, I have for the past 2 years. I hope I do again this year. I'm going to give it a shot. So yeah, if you want to follow me, I'll tell you about that in just a second. Yeah. Jeff, we are always grateful for our viewers, our listeners, our benefactors, aren't we?
We are, and we need a book of your Inktober drawings, Father.
Oh,
so
okay. I guess I could make that up.
This week, the Catholic Underground is possible because of people just like you. Join the growing number of undergrounders at catholicunderground.com/donate. An important way to support us is to like us, heart us, star us, and share us on your social media platform of choice. And if you really like that podcast, pop by iTunes and leave us a review and click them stars, youngins.
That's right. We hope that we are your pick of the week. And if we are, tell somebody about it on whatever it is you're doing. Our panelists this week have been Tyler Trahan. Thank you, Tyler, very much.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Always welcome on the show.
Thank
Olivia
you so much.
Gulino is at the.real.omg on all of the social media. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.
Also, Jeff Blackwell is he's Jeff. He's our technical director. He's at Jeff Blackwell us on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you, Jeff.
It's a privilege, Father.
And our video and graphics director is Ed Ball. Our research assistant and the leader of the crew in the lab is Jim Hayes. And you know me, I'm Father Chris Decker. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, especially during Inktober, at Digital Catholic. You can see what I draw every day. We hope that we have helped you cut through the noise and find that still small voice. We are the Catholic Underground, where faith gone digital, and we will see you next time.
From the Catholic Underground.